The clock on the wall ticked far too loudly for a doctor's office. Each sound cut through the silence as I sat on the examination chair, paper rustling beneath me whenever I moved. Dr. Harris stood across the desk, his eyes avoiding mine, his hands shuffling the same stack of papers for too long. "Joyce," he finally said, clearing his throat, "the results came back. It's cancer." No details. No charts. No numbers. Just that single word dropped like a stone between us. I blinked, waiting for him to elaborate. What stage? What kind? What happens now? My voice cracked, almost pleading. He pressed his lips together, shook his head slightly, and muttered, "We'll discuss treatment options soon. For now, try to rest." That was it. The conversation ended as abruptly as it had begun. He slid the papers back into a folder without showing me a single page. Walking out of the clinic, I felt the world tilt. The parking lot, the cars, even the bright afternoon sky looked unreal. I should have been crying, panicking, calling someone, yet my body moved on autopilot, step after step, until I reached the car. At home, I told Mark. He was in the kitchen, pouring himself a glass of water. I forced the words out, "They say I have cancer." He turned, glass still in hand, and nodded slowly. Not shock. Not grief. Just a nod, followed by, "We'll handle this. Don't worry." It was the calmest response I could have imagined. Too calm. His eyes didn't even water. He didn't come over to hold me the way I expected. He just leaned against the counter, looking at me as if he already knew. That night, I sat on the bathroom floor with the lights off. I pressed my knees to my chest, listening to the faint sound of Mark watching television in the other room. My body felt fine. No pain, no sickness, nothing to match the gravity of the diagnosis. The emptiness inside me wasn't from illness. It was from doubt. Days passed, and the doubts only grew. Whenever I asked Dr. Harris for copies of the test results, there were excuses. The system glitched. The paperwork is delayed. We'll get it next time. Always next time. One afternoon, I went for a follow-up. The nurse left me waiting in the exam room, the door slightly ajar. Voices drifted in from the hallway. "Oh, money, you'll get the rest later." I froze. It was a man's voice, low, firm, familiar. I moved closer to the door, every muscle tensed. "Oh, she believes it," another voice responded, quieter but distinct. "Dr. Harris." My chest tightened. I recognized the first voice too. My husband's. I pressed my hand over my mouth, heart pounding so hard I thought they would hear it. Why were they talking about money? What exactly had Mark paid him for? The thought burned through me, sharp and unbearable, and a question rose in my mind so terrifying I could barely breathe it. Had my husband paid my doctor to lie about me having cancer? I didn't breathe until the voices faded down the hallway. My hand gripped the edge of the exam chair so tightly my nails dug into the vinyl. The words replayed in my head like a recording. "She believes it." The moment I left the clinic, I pulled out my phone. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely type, but I searched for the hospital's online portal, desperate to see my own test results. When I logged in, there was nothing. No records. No diagnosis. Just my name and blank spaces where lab reports should have been. It was true. Dr. Harris hadn't just made a mistake, he had hidden everything. And Mark was involved. That night, I sat at the dinner table, staring at my husband across the plates of untouched food. He cut into his chicken calmly, chewing as if the world hadn't shifted under me. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but the fear of hearing the truth kept me silent. Instead, I asked quietly, "Mark, why haven't you cried? Or even asked about treatment?" His fork paused midair, then lowered. He looked at me, his face unreadable, and said, "Because I know you. You're strong. Crying won't help you." It was the kind of answer that might have sounded loving to anyone else. But his eyes told a different story, cold, distant, calculating. Later that night, after he fell asleep, I crept into his study. I had never gone through his desk before, but my hands moved with a certainty I didn't know I had. In the second drawer, beneath a pile of old bills, I found an envelope. Inside were crisp notes, too much money to be casual. And folded among them, a slip of paper with a single name, Dr. Harris. My stomach turned. It wasn't just suspicion anymore. It was proof. I sat there in the dark study, the weight of betrayal pressing down on me. My husband had paid my doctor to fabricate a cancer diagnosis. But why? What could he possibly gain from breaking me down like this? I closed the drawer and walked back to bed, slipping under the covers beside him. His breathing was steady, deep in sleep, while my eyes stayed wide open. The next morning, as he kissed me goodbye before leaving for work, I forced myself to smile. Inside, though, a new question burned so fiercely it pushed away the fear. What was his real reason for wanting me to believe I was dying? The days that followed blurred into one another. Every glance Mark gave me, every word he spoke, I dissected for hidden meaning. When he asked if I was feeling weaker, I flinched. When he reminded me to rest, I wondered if he was checking how well his lie was working. I couldn't live on suspicion alone. So, I decided to dig deeper. I returned to the clinic without telling Mark. Instead of going through the front desk, I waited outside until I saw Dr. Harris leaving for lunch. My pulse hammered as I approached him in the parking lot. "Why did my husband pay you?" I asked bluntly. He froze. His hand, halfway to his car door, trembled. "Joyce, you shouldn't." "Don't lie to me," I cut in, my voice louder than I intended. "I know about the envelope. I know about the money." His eyes darted around the lot before he hissed, "Keep your voice down." Then, quieter, he said it was for your own good. That you needed to believe you were sick. The ground shifted beneath me. For my own good. I repeated, the words tasting bitter. He nodded, but wouldn't look me in the eye. He wanted you, slowed down, dependent, more manageable. I stood there, shaking, while he fumbled with his keys and slipped into his car. He drove off, leaving me with only fragments of the truth. Back home, I walked through each room like it was a stranger's house. The kitchen counters, the framed photos, the bed I shared with him, they all felt tainted. Mark had wanted me weak, controlled, trapped in an illness that didn't exist. But why now? That night, after he went to sleep, I searched again. His phone, his laptop, his desk. Most files were locked, password protected. But in a folder labeled Finances, I found something, an unsigned insurance form with my name on it. The beneficiary was Mark. My hands went cold. If I had really believed I was dying, would he have convinced me to sign it? To transfer everything to him? The thought made me dizzy. The betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was financial, calculated, planned. My marriage wasn't just cracking. It was a trap, and I had walked straight into it. As I lay awake, staring into the dark ceiling above me, one terrifying question pressed harder than all the others. Was he planning to end my life for real once the fake cancer story had run its course? The morning after I found the insurance papers, I couldn't pretend anymore. I sat at the table with a cup of untouched coffee, the papers folded neatly in front of me. My hands didn't shake this time. I was done being afraid. When Mark walked in, adjusting his tie for work, I looked straight at him. "We need to talk." He paused, studying my face. "About what?" I slid the papers across the table. "About this. About why you paid Dr. Harris to tell me I was dying." His eyes flicked down, then back to me. For a moment, his mask slipped, just enough for me to see the calculation behind his calm. Then he smiled, thin and forced. "You weren't supposed to find that." My chest tightened. "So it's true." He sat down opposite me, leaning back casually, as if this was just another conversation about bills or groceries. "Joyce, you don't understand. You've been difficult lately, questioning too much. I needed you to rely on me again. If you thought you were sick, you'd stop fighting me." The words cut deeper than the diagnosis ever had. It wasn't about love. It was about control. And the insurance policy. I asked, my voice low. He didn't flinch. A precaution. Nothing more. Rage surged through me, stronger than fear. For weeks I had felt like I was unraveling, but in that moment, clarity returned. He wanted me weak. He wanted me dependent. He wanted me gone. I stood up, my chair scraping against the floor. You wanted me to believe I was dying. But you're the one who just killed this marriage. His jaw tightened, but I didn't give him the chance to speak. I grabbed the papers, my bag, and my phone. My steps were steady as I walked out the front door into the sharp morning air. At the police station, I handed over everything, my statement, the money trail, the envelope with Dr. Harris's name. The officer nodded, his expression grim, and assured me they would investigate. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe. That night, I stayed at a friend's house. As I lay down, exhaustion weighing heavy on me, I realized something. Mark had built a story to make me believe I was dying. Instead, he had forced me to start living. And as I closed my eyes, one thought carried me forward into the unknown. If I could survive this, what else was I capable of?